Okay, so I was asked to take over B'Strucks for a few days. He's not able to. He's not able to give a share. So we're holding at the bottom of Non Aleph from Beis, the last line of the Gemara. The middle of speaking about making it a big machlekes between Rav Nachman and Rav Chisda in the pshat of the argument of the Mishnah between Yehuda and Rabbi. If a person can make an eid of Tumen only by speaking without actually going there and making and bringing chalas and so forth. Now we're going to bring a story which is a proof to the Nachman. Last line of Non Aleph Amid Beis. Rav Nachman bar Rabbi bar Chanan Havarago the Asi Martivna Lepum B'Disa. Rabbi bar Chanan would go every single Shabbos from a place called Ativna to Pumbedisa, which was obviously more than the Tchum. And in order to do that, he would make an Eruv in the middle of the place called Tzina. So Amar, he would say, Tehei Shvisasi B'Tzina. My Shvisa, I'm making an Eruv in Tzina, in the place in the middle, so therefore he'll be able to walk from Martivna to Tzina, and then from Tzina he'll be able to walk on Shabbos to Pumbedisa. So he used to make an Eruv just by talking without actually putting anything there. Amle Abaye told him, my daite, what do you hold? Why do you hold that you're able to do this? If you hold that because it's machlekes of Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda, halacha Rabbi Yehuda. If you hold that the machlekes in the Mishnah of Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda, and obviously paskin, if there's a machlekes in Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda, we paskin according to Rabbi Yehuda. And Rav Chisda said, Rav Chisda, machlekes ma complaining. The machlekes is Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi is if you can make a shvisa, if you can make an eruv in a certain place by just speaking, by just saying Yeshus Asi Allah. And Rabbi Yehuda says you could, and therefore we're passing according to Rabbi Yehuda. So if you say that you're passing according to Rav Chisda, Rav Nachman Matana Kava say that Rav Nachman argues with Rav Chisda, and he says you can't make an eruv just by speaking. You have to actually go there. And he brought a brisa to prove it. And the rule is to bring a brisa to prove it. That's the halacha. So Rabbi was asking, how can you make an eruv just by talking? And that was the question. And Amalei answered him, Hadribi, you're talking right, and I'm being chayza, I'm going back on what I did, and from now on I'm not going to make an eruv just by talking. He used to do this every single Shabbos. Now he decided he's going to pass on according to Nachman. The Gemara goes further and explains, we know that on Shabbos, that a person is able to carry on Shabbos 4 amos, meaning if a person's stuck in a certain place, he's able to carry, if a person makes a shvi in a certain place, besides the 200 amos, he also, besides the Tchum Shabbos, he's also able to carry 4 amos. So the question is, if this applies also to Tchum, this applies also if I put an eruv there, if I put food there, if that would count also for, do I have 4 amos from the eruv? Or maybe we do say, since the eruv is there, so I only have exactly 2,000 amos from exactly where the eruv is. We say that if a person is Shabbos, a person rests in a certain place and makes for eruv, he has 4 amos, meaning that we only count 2,000 amos after he finishes his 4 amos. So the question is, if someone who puts eruv there, if he puts bread there, does he have 4 amos? Or do we say he doesn't have 4 amos? So the Gemara is going to bring a proof from that which we say that that a rich person is able to make an eruv by sending bread. Let's see. Amar Rav told him, Tashma, let's bring a proof from the Mishnah. It says in the Mishnah like this. It says in the Mishnah that really when someone makes an eruv, he should make an eruv. The ideal eruv is that a person has to go there. The problem is not everyone has time to go there. So they made an idea, you're able to make an eruv also with bread. So it says in the Mishnah, why did they make this reason? Why did they make an eruv that you can make it with bread? So the only reason why they said you can make it with bread is to make it more lenient for the rich person. That you shouldn't have to go there, you shouldn't have to leave Friday afternoon and actually go to that place on Friday afternoon. So the question is like this: I'm not ainlay. If you're going to tell me that a person who puts bread over them, hence a rich person, doesn't have 4 amos, hi lahakil lahachminu, you're telling me that it's a leniency for a rich person? It's actually a chumrah. Why is it a chumrah? Because if you're ma'arif by in person, so you have 4 amos. But if you're ma'arif with bread, so you won't have 4 amos. So this must be a proof that the fact the Mishnah uses the lashon lahakil to make it more lenient is a proof that even if you're ma'arif with bread, you also have 4 amos. So the Gemara says that that's not a good proof. The Gemara is actually not going to answer the question. The Gemara is going to say that this proof that we brought isn't a good proof. The Gemara says that which you brought a proof from the Mishnah that it says that we wanted to make it easier for the rich person. It doesn't mean that in all the details it's easier. It means that in this detail it's easier. With the detail that he doesn't have to leave Friday afternoon and go and go and walk to where he wants to make an eruv, that in that aspect it's more lenient. I feel even if he doesn't have 4 arms, it's still much more convenient for the rich person not to leave his house and be there, even if he knows that he will not have 4 arms. So here we see that this would not be a good proof. This will not be a proof to tell me that he has 4 arms. The halacha actually is that we pass on that he does have 4 arms, even though we don't answer it over here. We have passing from a different Gemara somewhere else. Now moving on to the Mishnah. This is a Mishnah speaking about what's the category of someone making an eruv. Because we know that if someone is only machzik go there, we're going to see in a second, someone only leaves his house with the intention to make an eruv, even though he never actually got to the place he wanted to make an eruv by, it still would count because he started already on his way. So let's see. It says the Mishnah, the holding by the Mishnah on base Amad Aleph. Misha Yotza Leilich Be'ir Shema'arvim Ba. Someone who lived in place A, let's say London for our sake, and he went, he wants to make an eruv, he wants to walk to a different city on Shabbos. So in the middle he goes and he makes an eruv. So Misha Yotza on Friday afternoon, he left his house with the intention he's on the way to make an eruv. While he's on the way, his friend calls him back and he tells him, hey, come back, don't go. We're going to see the Mishnah, he's going to tell him it's too hot to leave or it's too cold, whatever it is. And Itaka comes back. So this person never actually made the eruv. He usually makes the eruv in this place, but this specific Friday he never made the eruv. The question is if it counts or not. Since he started walking, do we say counted or not? So that's the Mishnah. This person is able to walk to the following city because we're going to see soon, he had the intention already to leave. But the rest of the city, anyone else who lives in London, is not able to leave to Manchester because there's no eruv between this place, between London and the different city. So this person is able to go because he had the intention to go. But the rest of the city, his intention doesn't count for the rest of the city, and therefore there's no eruv, he can't go. This is all the opinion of Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Meir says, anyone that had the opportunity to make an eruv with bread, meaning anyone who has bread in his house, anyone who's in his house, and he had the opportunity to make an eruv, and even if he went, he never actually got there, he never actually reached the place he wanted to make an eruv. It's as if he's walking. It gives a mashal of the person who's walking with a donkey in front of him and a camel behind him. We're going to see what the mashal is soon, but it's actually in the next we're not going to get into now. But the mashal is that a person is walking with a camel in front of him and the donkey behind him. He always has to be careful. He's watching the camel and he's watching the donkey in the same time. So he's basically stuck on both sides. And the camel has his eye on the camel, and the other eye he has on the donkey. So the nimshah is over here that a mayor says the eruv doesn't count for the city that he is, and the eruv doesn't count for the city he's going to go to. We're not going to get into this now. We're going to see a bit soon. Says the Gemara. Now the Gemara is going to delve into the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, which Rabbi Yehuda said that if a person leaves the city, even if he came back and he never reached the place he wanted to make his eruv, it still counts. Counts for him, but doesn't count for everyone else. What's the difference? If it counts for him, why shouldn't it count for the whole city? And if it shouldn't count for the whole city, why should it count for him? If it counts for him, meaning that there is an imaginary eruv over there, so why shouldn't it count for the whole city? Yeah, what's the difference between him and what's the difference between the whole city? I'm going to say, I'm a specific case over here. Again, this person has 2 houses. He has one house in London, for example, and he has another house in a different city. We name and in between London, let's say Manchester, there's 2 Tchumi Shabbos, meaning there's 4,000 amos in between. So this person, in order for him to walk to Manchester, he's going to have to make an eruv in the middle, which is 2,000 amos out of London, and then another eruv would make him walk to Manchester. So this person this person, since he left his house, so in this case, he's counted as an ani. What it means an ani is counted as someone who's not able to make an eruv because he never reached there, and therefore he counts even if he says shvisasi, even if he says with his mouth that he's making an eruv. But the other people, the other people of the city are Ashirim. What do you mean they are Ashirim? They never left the city to make Eruv B'chlal. And since they never left the city to make Eruv B'chlal, it's counted as they never made the Eruv. And since they never made the Eruv, it doesn't count. We're going to bring another brayso. This brayso is very important because the Gemara is going to speak about this further, delve into this brayso. We have the same brayso that says the same idea. The brayso says like this: person has two houses. We name Shnei Tchumin, and between these two houses, there's two Tchumin, meaning there's 2 times 2,000 ams, which is 4,000 ams. As soon as since he on Friday afternoon, if he started leaving his house, he's kind of Edo. Just by saying Shvisasi Makim plain, he's kind of Edo, but just by saying with his mouth that he's kind of in this. I want to make my Edo in this place. This is all the opinion of Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Yes, that's all one opinion. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda that you can be kind of by saying that I want to make Edo. Yes, even more so, the Yehuda adds onto the Yehuda and argues with him, and it says even more extreme. Even if his friend found him after he left the city, and his friend told him, why are you leaving the whole city? Come to my house, sleep in my house. It's cold outside, or it's hot outside. And the machar, so the din is, the next day he could get up and he could go out. So we see over here that the Yehuda says that if a person, as soon as when a person leaves his house, if he says Shusas complaining that he's kind. We're going to have an argument so what it means, the machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and the Yehuda, but the Pasha plan of Yehuda is the Pasha plan machlekes is that according to Rabbi Yehuda, he actually had to leave his house in order to make the Eruv. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, even if he didn't leave his house, yeah, like it says, even if his friend found before he left his house, just this idea that he was in his house and he had the intention ready to leave and make Eruv, that already counts. Omar Rabbi says, everyone agrees, side of Yehuda and side of Yehuda, everyone agrees that you have to verbally say that you want to make it. So what are they arguing about? What are they arguing about? Lahachsik. They're arguing in the Pirush, they're arguing the meaning of lahachsik. What does it mean that I have to be machsik? What does it mean I have to make a place of Eid? According to the Yehuda, lahachsik means that someone who actually physically left his house, that's when it counts to make Eid. Rabbi Yossi, his son, goes even further and says not only someone who actually left his house, even someone who wanted to leave his house, and even someone who had the intention to leave his house but never actually left, it still counts as a Eid. So that's the first opinion in what they're arguing about. Again, that the argument is everyone agrees that you have to just verbally say that I want to make an Eid. The question is, what is the Pirush? What does it mean that I have to have the intention to make an Eid? Either the intention, according to the intention is I actually have to leave my house. And then Rabbi Yossi, his son, says that I don't actually have to leave my house. Even if I had the intention to leave my house, it still counts as an Eid. That's all Rabbi's opinion. Rabbi Yossi is going to argue and he's going to say no. Everyone agrees that everyone agrees. Everyone agrees that you have to physically leave your house. What is the argument between Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi? Is loymar. Do I have to say or do I not have to say? Meaning, everyone agrees that I have to physically do a physical movement of leaving my house. The question is, do I have to bring it out verbally also or not? According to Rabbi Yehuda, I have to bring it out verbally. According to Rabbi Yossi, I do not have to bring it out verbally. Even if I didn't bring it out verbally, then it's fine. By the way, this if you look in Rashi, it's a very big Rashi over here. Rashi goes through 2 ways of learning this whole piece of Gemara. It's very long, so we're only going to do the second Lishna right now. But if you look in Rashi, Rashi has actually 2 ways of learning the Gemara. It's very interesting. Rashi, a lot of times Rashi doesn't go into the actual 2 ways of learning something and asking questions on it like Tesis does. When this Rashi goes through 2 ways of learning the Gemara, and Rashi asks questions in the first way, and he stays with a different way. Okay, now we're going to bring a statement of Uda. We want to know if he goes according to Rabbi, which says the machlekes is only if the machlekes is what does it mean to be machzik? What does it mean? Do you have to actually leave your house, or do you have to only have the intention to leave your house, or does it go according to Rabbi Yosef, who says that machlekes says everyone agrees that you have to actually leave your house? The question is if you have to say it verbally or not. Who does this statement that Ullah said go according to? Ullah said like this: Misha Hefzik about that someone on Erev Shabbos started leaving his house, and his friend called him back, meaning that he never actually reached his destination. He just left his house. So Ullah said like this: it's as if he returned, and it's as if he was already machzik in the air. So the Gemara asked the obvious question: if he returned, lama muchzak, then how can you say that he's muchzak for the Eruv which he never reached? The muchzak, and if it's as if he reached his Eruv, lama muchzak. Why does Ullah stick in that it's as if he returned, meaning he has the status of someone who never actually made the Eruv? So the Gemara says, even Ullah's coming to tell us that even though he returned, it's as if he already was muhsik, which is basically, this is just a clarification we're getting before we actually answer that question, who does Ullah go according to? But first we have to understand what Ullah is saying. So the Gemara asks, what do you mean if he returned, then how's he muhsik? And if he's muhsik, what does it mean he returned? So the Gemara says that when Ullah said muhzar, it's Ullah is trying to tell us exactly the case of Rabbi Yehuda and the machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosef, that what we got someone who left his house and he returned. So Ullah is being machadish. Ullah is telling us what it says in the Mishnah before, that even though he returns, I would have think since he returned, he never actually counted as an Eruv. He never actually counted, never made the Eruv. But Ullah teaches us that even if he had the intention to leave and he actually left, so he it's counted as an Eruv. So now we want to know, who does Ullah go according to? Come on, who does he go according to? Do we say he goes according to Rabbi Yosef? Come on, who does he go according to? But the answer is Rabbi Yosef, Valiba, the Rabbi Yosef. He goes Valiba, the Rabbi Yehuda. Ullah is following the opinion of Rabbi Yosef. He goes according to Rabbi Yehuda that says that what? That a person, even if he never actually left his house, he already counts as a Eruv. Because what does it say what does it say in Ullah? Ullah said, what does it mean? Even though he returned, meaning that it's Masha from Ullah's Lashon that he never actually left. Ullah's trying to teach that even though he has the status, he has the gather of someone who's returned, someone who stays in his house, even so, he's still muhzak as a Eruv. So here we see that it goes according to the opinion of Rabbi Yosef, that Rabbi Yosef says that the name of Rabbi Yosef said that even if someone actually argues with you, even if someone that left his house, it never left his house yet, he just had the intention of leaving, and then his friend held him back, so it's already counted as a Eruv. Now I think I was going to bring a story on this topic. Rabbi Yehuda bar Ishtata, Aisilei Kalkola de Pin. Rabbi Yehuda bar Ishtata brought a bundle of fruit, a basket of fruit, and Nosson bar Yishaya to Nosson bar Yishaya. On Erev Shabbos, he brought him a Shabbos present. When he's on his way out, and they had steps going down the house. When he's on his way down the steps of the house, he told him like this. He let him go down a few steps at one step. And he told him, Bis hocha, don't go home. Why you go home? It's cold, whatever it is. Sleep in my house Friday night. And tomorrow morning, go and go back to your house. What do we see over here? Come on. Who does this? Who does Rav Nosson go according to? What did Rav Nosson tell him? Rav Nosson told him, we said in the story, first he let him go down the steps. And then he told him to sleep in his house. He didn't tell him to sleep in his house. He told him first go down the steps and then sleep in your house. What do we see? So we see from here, from this story, that he goes according to Rabbi Yosef, Alibu Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. What does that mean? That Rabbi Yosef, like we said before, Rabbi Yosef, in the name of Yehuda, said that even if someone said, so this goes according to the Rabbi Yehuda. Like we said before, Rabbi Yehuda says that everyone agrees that you have to make a chazaka. Everyone agrees that you have to be muhsik. But the machlekes says whether Rabbi Yehuda says you have to actually say it verbally, and Rabbi Yehuda says you don't have to say it verbally. In our story, what do we see? In our story, we see that Rav Nosson told him, go down the steps, meaning in our context, to be machzik in my house. be machzik in your house. So I have an intention already of leaving. And once you have intention of leaving, then it already counts as aid. Be able to sleep in my house and then go back to your house, no problem. So we don't mention the story that he actually told him to say anything. So here we see that it goes according to the Yossi, goes according to the opinion of Yossi Bar Yehuda, that you're able to be kind of aid of even without speaking verbally and saying that you want to make aid. So that's pshat in the story. Like, actually, that's not pshat in the story. Rabbi va'aliba Rabbi Yehuda. Really, I could say the story goes according to Rabbi and according to Rabbi Yehuda. Like we said before, Rabbi according to Rabbi Yehuda said that everyone agrees that you have to actually say it verbally. Why doesn't it say in the story that you have to say verbally? Because the pshat in the story is that when he told him to leave, to be machzik, he meant also to say verbally that he's going back to his house. And therefore, it's not a proof for Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef. It's not a proof that the story goes against Rabbi. Okay, we're going to continue tomorrow on Daf Nun Beis Amud Beis.